Hi, today my topic is microservices. Specifically, I want to argue that you should build your product on uh, microservices not because of technical reasons, but more of you should see it as a team management strategy. So let's zoom out and first remember what a microservice is. Microservice is basically a small deployable piece of service that when they mesh together, they form a larger application. So uh, if you are already working with microservices, or even if you didn't build any microservice so far, probably you heard that if you are listening this. What is the downside of using a microservice? So I mentioned that these are small pieces. If an application, the larger application, has dozens, maybe hundreds of applications, then it means you need some kind of orchestration. What does it mean? What, once you have hundreds of small applications instead of having one large one, now you need to monitor all of them. So it will create some kind of overhead. Each will have its own CI/CD system, maybe. So each will have its own release cycle, maybe. Now you need to orchestrate all of them. So that creates a huge overhead. But meanwhile, these overheads, these downsides can be also the upsides. If each of them are deployable and each of them has its own release cycle, it means they are deployable itself. They can be scaled up without scaling the other microservices, and these are the upsides. Which means if you want to scale only one part of the product, if you want to scale up one part of the product, or if you want to scale down one part of the product, you can do it without dealing with the rest of the product. So that is also the upsides. Now, that is the part exactly where team dynamics come into play. Because now, since you have separate parts that can be deployed separately, it means that you can assign responsibility to different people, to different teams. Let's use an example. You have an application. It's Friday afternoon, and your payment system failed somehow. Now, if this application is a monolith application, it means that, and if it's a big application also, like consists of like search engine, recommendation engine, authentication service, of course, the other also like hundreds of moving parts. Even you have a problem only in the payment system, you have to fix it and deploy this huge product. But now look at this from other perspective. If this application is based on microservice architecture, it means that you can just fix the specific part and deploy it without being blocked or without blocking the others. And if somehow during deployment process there is some kind of downtime, it means only one part of the product will have downtime, not the whole application. Maybe the user still can authenticate and use the product, but maybe just will not be able to use the payment system for a while until you fix the problem. This is still a problem. but at least the customer can log in and use the product probably. Here's what I said. I said, now you have a payment team and you're asking the payment team to fix the payment problem in the payment service. Do you know Conway's law? Basically, Conway's law tells us the systems built in an organization mirrors the organization's communication structure. So if there's a flat organization structure, then you will see the systems that they build will be more like flat, and it will reflect communication structure in the organization. So whatever it is, if there's a bureaucracy, like hierarchy over hierarchy, then the systems built in that organization will reflect this communication structure. By using microservice architecture, we are doing the opposite. We are building the system, so we are changing the organization's communication structure, because now you are having separate deployable units, you are having separate microservices, and there are different teams responsible for these different services, which means this time you are building small teams in the organization. So these small teams should be tight, that they will communicate each other, and the other teams, they will still have communication with the, for example, authentication system still communicates with the recommendation engine maybe. That is still okay, but it is also separate itself. There is only one line from authentication system to the recommendation system. There is only one thin line. So they are dependent each other, but not in the way that like they are fully dependent each other. They can still operate without depending on, without being blocked. If your product is large, I'm not talking about a product with like only like thousands of rows records in the database or millions of records database. I am talking about a large product with maybe like billions of records, thousands, like hundreds, thousands of users, and maybe dozens of engineers. I'm not talking about a team with 3 people. Then you want the team members to act freely. So what you do is you divide and conquer. So you divide the team into separate parts. So each team takes responsibility of some microservices, and then they take action on for that microservices. That's my point. That is what I am believing in. I believe you should not build microservices just because it is sexy, just because it is trendy. You should use microservices if you want to manage your team in that way. If you want to manage your organization in that way. This is very important. Unfortunately, there are anti-patterns I see that people, like there is like 3 people in the team, 5 people in the team, and they are trying to build everything in, like they are trying to build microservices. Unfortunately, they are just creating an overhead for themselves. Let me say something. What I said applies to 95% of the companies with 3, 5, 10 people. You know, like, I mean, they don't need to use microservices, these small companies. But I also think there are unique cases, really. Like, There are unique cases that there is a good justification to use microservices, even the team size is small. Maybe the team size is very small, the product is huge. Somehow, like there can be just some kind of justification there. I understand that, but that doesn't apply 95% of the companies. So next time, if someone in your team says, hey, let's just build microservices, and if your team size is small, just stop and ask these questions. Do we really need it? Are we blocking each other? What is the justification to switch to microservices? Does it worth the overhead? I believe once you answer these questions, you will figure out if you really need microservices or not.